One of the most annoyingly overinflated issues in Canadian politics has to be environment and climate change. It's one of those discussions where it seems like almost all of the discourse around it is purely artificial. It's even true that a lot of the publications that do a lot of focus on climate change and renewable energy reporting are effectively just funded by renewable lobbying firms and different green energy companies. It's a very artificial part of the Canadian political discourse. And one of the most annoying things, at least to me, is just the way that polling has also inflated the issue. It makes it seem like it's the biggest issue in Canada for a lot of people, when really what I think happens whenever we see polls that come out supposedly demonstrating that climate change and environment are as the biggest issue for people, it just demonstrates that there's an unseriousness that has been baked into a lot of Canadian politics these days, that there's a sort of subsection of upper middle class people who, when they're asked to name their top issue, they're more likely to not think about all the actual concerns they have in life, but to think, what should I say that makes it sound like I really, I'm a deep thinker on Canadian politics. I really care about something like on a moral level. Like I have moral views on things, but not like those pro-life people, because that's not the kind of moral stances I want to take. I want to take very granola and earthy world like positions on issues. But so that's where I think that whenever you see climate change and environment being rated the top issue, it's not because there's actually a large amount of people who care about climate change. It's because there's a lot of people who think that that they should be caring a lot about climate change, but they don't live it day to day. So I just wanted to highlight this poll that came out from Nanos Research that showed that supposedly 16.4% of Canadians as of August 18th think that climate change and environment is the top issue category in the country right now. And that's followed by inflation at 13.8%, jobs and economy at 13.3, healthcare at 11, and housing and cost of housing at 5.9. It's absurd considering how big the issue of housing is right now. I don't believe that the actual top issue for people is environment and climate change. Yes, maybe it's the top issue for people who make over $500,000 a year, but why is the Green Party always so far down in the polls if supposedly everyone really cares about climate change? And you could say, well, the Liberals and NDP also take climate change seriously. Like, yeah, but if there's like 16.8% of people who take the issue very seriously, you think that the Green Party wouldn't be struggling to hold on to their 2 seats right now? Because like I just want to go back to some of the polling. Like the polling right now, like this is the Main Street poll. I could go to the Nanos one, has it much closer, to be fair. But like the Green Party wouldn't be polling at 4% if climate change was a real hot button issue in this country, especially because smaller parties actually usually have a good time of getting an outsized rating in the polls, just simply because their members tend to be much more politically active. Like you don't join a small party as a casual voter, you tend to join it as someone who's very into politics. But the Green Party, everywhere you look, it's just 4%, 3%. Sometimes they get 5%. But considering they're the party most closely associated with taking climate change like deathly seriously, they would probably be able to pull a lot more votes if they actually, did genuinely, if like the climate change issue was genuinely one of the top issues in the country, but it's simply not. And really, what I think when you look at that 16.8% number, I think that the actual number of people who think it's their top issue is probably around 5%, if not 3%. Most people who are struggling to like afford housing, who are worried about losing their jobs, have lost their jobs, or are being really battered by inflation, especially with their savings, those are obviously the top issues. And of course, in that Nanos poll, if you aggregated all the issues that are very much economic based, it probably way outweighs the environment. But the way that they sort of stagnate, they sort of separate out all of the issues involving the economy, and the way that they concentrate everything to do with environment climate change into just the environment category makes it seem more important. But even then, I think it's been overinflated. But yeah, it, like even the Nanos poll, if I just quickly go back to it, like there's not a social issue on there. There's not abortion as an issue on there. There's no sort of like opposition to wokeism or support for the progressive agenda on there. It's just not there. So I think that a lot of these polls have effectively been designed in order to sort of remove some hot button issues and then just put in a bunch of, when I say boring, I don't mean not important, but I mean it's not like a hot blooded issue to talk about. But when you add in economic issues and then you have environment there, you're going to have a lot of progressive people just saying environment because it's the most sort of high minded of the issues on that list. But in reality, when they go out and vote, I guarantee that they're not voting based on the environment. Again, even if I'm to move away from the Green Party example, why is the Green Party polling so low? Let's just pretend most of the people who vote for the environment option in these polls think, well, the Green Party can't get elected, so I'll vote NDP or Liberal. But again, when I go through all the recent polls, the Conservatives are up like 12 or 13%, some like anywhere from 7 to 13. That's a pretty decent lead. And if supposedly the biggest issue in the country is environment, you think that the Liberal and NDP polling numbers would be a little bit more stable if they're, really taking the biggest issue in the country seriously. But it's just not the biggest issue in the country. Again, like all the reporting on in renewable energy and green energy, it tends to be a very artificial part of Canadian politics. There's a lot of money behind people pretending to take the climate change environment issue seriously. Not that people online who say that they take it seriously are lying, but there's a lot of, overheating of that topic. Not like how many people are really reading article after article every day about renewable energy and different sort of discourses on coal power and nuclear energy. It's a very niche part of Canadian politics. Yet somehow there's millions of dollars to operate entire news publications just based off this topic. It's not because people actually care. Like, go to another issue that didn't even make that Nanos poll. Pro-life issues. There's like a dozen pro-life groups in Canada, and they're all fully funded through their donors. It's not that they're not getting artificially inflated budgets from some sort of big corporation that is like invested in pro-life issues. That something like that doesn't really exist. It's that people genuinely care about it, so they give their money towards it. But when you see, people like David Muscope on Twitter constantly championing the climate change issue, it's not because people that really care that much. It's just because there's a lot of money in championing the renewable side of the energy issue at the moment. But that's pretty much it for me today. This just got on my nerves because I always hate whenever whenever there's discourse about Canadian politics and the Conservatives are ahead, and then like people fold their arms and they're like, well, I guess they're gonna fail in this next election because they don't take climate change seriously. No one cares. No one cares. People just want their lives to be better. I guess this is a quick aside. I'm not going to end the video as fast as I thought, but I guarantee you, if you took the people who said that they think environment is their top issue, and then you pulled them saying, if we reintroduce coal onto the power grid in our province, we could reduce power bills by 40%. I guarantee 3/4 of them would probably maybe not admit it, but 3/4 of them would say, yeah, it's reasonable to bring back coal for that. People are really struggling. They should be able to have some more money in their pockets to be able to pay for other things, but just their inflated power bills. At the end of the day, people care about things that actually affect their lives. And while climate change can affect your life in an abstract way, most people do not live in fear of climate change day to day. They actually live in fear of the things that really are going to hurt them, like inflation, like the ability to afford a house, like, the inflation of food prices and whatnot. Anyways, well, that's it for me today. You can donate to my Givesend Go in the description below. I'm being sued by a Chinese billionaire. I've already paid $15,000 into defending myself. Annoying, I'm winning, but any dollars that you can give me do help alleviate the pressure of having to pay it all myself, which I've been basically doing for about a year and a half now. And then also in the description below, there is the TNT email sign up. Sign up for that, especially if you are in the Calgary area, because Ben Shapiro is coming to Calgary in November, and TNT will be releasing some early bird ticket codes so that people can go buy the tickets for the event before the official opening of all the tickets for the general public. So make sure you sign up for that if you want to see Ben Shapiro on November 16th in Calgary. And that's it for me today.